Hi, y'all. So far, it's just me. Mel should be coming along in a few minutes. He had texted me just a little bit ago and said, I'm running late. I'm like, okay, no problem. So, how is everybody doing? Just in case some of you didn't notice, I made a couple of my members also to be moderators. So, I hope you don't mind. But now you have a wrench and you can knock people when they misbehave. So, hi, Karen. Hi, Innocent Potato. That's right, never just me. It's me. You got me all by myself today. So, been running errands in and out of the doctors. Nothing major, just general BS that I had to deal with. And hi, Roman. And so anyway, so here we are. We've already got a couple of some really good questions that y'all have come up with. So, but I'm gonna let's play advertising and behind the scenes stuff just to kill a little bit more time until Mel shows up. For those of you who are interested in keeping up with the election, truthalliance.org, they're the ones that have been doing all of the forensic computer work uh, from the 2024 election. They've also been doing additional forensic computer work on elections that have occurred since then, especially on some of the special elections and whatnot. And they are in the process of training people to uh, to be able to be involved going forward to the midterms coming up and any other special elections. I know they posted today on their post page that they were looking for certain people that if you're interested, contact them from their website. You can go in and you can see all the different positions of people that they're trying to get positions filled. Now, this is volunteer work. I don't believe they can afford to pay anybody. I don't even think they pay themselves. They're a nonprofit, so all donations are gladly welcome. And I know I hear I want to say his name is Nathan. Uh, Talk about it, and they had posted something today or this morning. I saw it when I was sitting in the waiting room at the doctor's office that they were looking to fill and do some training for upcoming elections. So if you're interested in that, please go to their website, check it out. If you got a couple of bucks you want to send to them, same goes. Go to their website, throw a couple of dollars their way. Every little bit helps. Now, there's another company called smartelections.us, and they do basically the same thing that Election Truth Alliance does. It's just they're based on the West Coast, where Truth Alliance is based on the East Coast. So, but they're doing the roughly the same kind of work, and they tend to work together. When they find information, they share information. So that's really good to know. You know, they're not like trying to compete against one another. They're just trying to get information out there. So there's that. Now for some a little bit of product placement here from some friends. I want to start off with Jules Handcrafted Designs. Jules is a friend of mine. She's also one of my members. She makes beautiful jewelry. I'm actually not wearing any of her jewelry right now, but she just started making bath salts. I mean, this comes, you know, a little jar with the scoop and everything, so smells really nice. But she has an Etsy store, so just go to her Etsy shop. The link is in the description box below. Links for everything are in the description box below. There is also Otter Spirit that I'm not actually wearing any of their jewelry, but they now offer spheres. And so you can see this is selenite. Selenite is really, really, really important for keeping your other gemstones and rocks and whatnot, keeping them cleansed and charged. There's something about the nature of selenite that does that. And so when they offered me to get a sphere to show everybody, I chose this one because I got to looking at all of my gemstones and all of my rocks and everything. And I realized I don't have any selenite. I didn't even realize it. I thought I did, but I didn't. Now I do. So that's, and I already had a little stand, that you can use to put on it. So I have it sitting on my desk now, and it kind of keeps things kind of cleansed and going easily here. But Otter Spirit, they contribute for every item purchased. They contribute $1 to the conservation group, um, uh, to rescue the wild sea otters of Monterey Bay that almost went extinct, and which I find is a wonderful program. I believe they're involved in a few other uh, uh, conservation groups as well. But Otter Spirit specifically donates to the to help the wild sea otters of Monterey Bay. And I mean, come on, guys. Otters are like the cutest damn animals, besides maybe uh, the, oh crap, what do you call them now? The real slow moving stuff. I see Mel. I see Mel is here. Hi, Mel. I'm
Hey,
just I'm just doing advertising, waiting for you to get here. I was killing
I
time.
am so sorry. I have spent the last Mercury must be retrograde. I have
Yeah,
spent the last 15 minutes trying to get into Google Chrome because when
oh,
I was in, there's two-step verification, and it kept sending it, and I kept clicking on it, and it was like something went wrong. Something I'm like, ah.
that's so aggravating when that happens. So one last thing I'm going to advertise for, and that's Androniki Skincare. You get when you order from them, you get the moisturizer, which is fantastic. You also get the serums, different serums, depends on what you want to use it for. I have certain serums I use on my face, and then I have the very dry skin one that I use on my arms and my legs and my hands. And it makes a huge difference. It's a wonderful product. So make sure you check them out. Again, link is in the description box below. No, we don't get paid any money for this. This is just because we're friends with these people. Well, Otter Spirit, I'm not technically friends with. I do get a commission if you use my link and order something. I get like, I don't know, a couple of bucks if you buy something. I think I've made like 30 bucks off of them in the past 6 months. So I'm rolling in the dough there, right? But I don't care because I don't do it for that. I do it because it helps the otters. But with Androniki Skincare, I don't get anything for it. I do it because I have met and become very good friends with the owner. Many thanks to Mel, who was the one that introduced us, and I consider it a blessing and an honor that I can call Andrew my friend now, and know that he will just up and call me at any moment, just because he gets a whim or something, and or we'll sit and text each other, and so it's kind of cool. I mean, he's such a nice man, y'all. He is just such a sweet man. I can't ever talk about his stuff enough because I know what he put into it from his end. And it's all done with love and care and wanting to produce a really good product. And everybody that I know of who has ever used his skincare have walked away saying, oh my God, this is the best stuff I've ever used. So, Mel, I know you use it a lot. So,
I use it daily. In fact, I talked to Andrew today. He's in Europe,
Yep.
and he said, "Tell you hello." Um, he's been a friend for years. Um, and what I'm going to do for my members is one member, I'll do a drawing, and then he will send a mask and a skincare line to.
Oh,
Um, uh,
very good. I was just getting ready to email him because I've got a couple of members that I that have kind of won some stuff that I want to give them some skincare, and so I was going to email him about can we send a pack out to him, and
and he even offered to send products to our group for Gettysburg. And
oh, that's awesome. That's
yeah, so
awesome.
he's a wonderful guy. His products are incredible. And thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, big time. Thank you, Andrew. Now, if you want to contact Mel, you can go to his website, meldor.com. You can go through his YouTube channel, which is there, or you can call him at 847-590-5411. That rings his office, and you can talk to his secretary and let them know if you're calling about a trip, if you're calling to schedule a reading, if you're calling because of other issues or whatever, questions you may have. And I forget your secretary's name. I know you
Joan,
mentioned
Joan, Joan.
Joan. Okay. And I mean, I've not ever talked to her myself personally, but I've heard a lot of nice things about her. So,
He's
and,
wonderful. Um,
and
Also,
so,
can I just say, I've got one opening left for Iceland. So if you're interested, I got to get it turned in
okay.
immediately. Because
Okay. And that's August 8th through the 15th.
yes,
And
I think
the
because
Danube, is that
that's sold
filled
out.
up? That's
That's
sold out. What about the Galapagos?
I have a wait list. So if you're
Okay.
interested, you can call the office. We'll go on the wait list in case we get cancellations. But Iceland, I have one opening. The airspace is pretty much full. So let me
Awesome.
know. I can put you in with a roommate. And so I've got openings for one person. So
Very good. Oh yeah, Karen Tapioca Thievery. She says she's on the wait list for Gettysburg. So she is
we're,
such a sweetie. She's
we're,
been coming on my slumber party on Saturday nights on air, and she's she's so much fun. Um,
we're talking about doing another one probably at the end of September. So if
okay.
you're interested, call the office. And so the people on the wait list for now, if we get cancellations, we'll get them for June. But also, we'll have a group, we think, we're not sure yet, going to Gettysburg in at the end of September. So,
Oh,
um,
interesting.
so if you're interested, give us a
And
call.
the trip, this one that's current, that's in June, right?
It's June the 18th through the 21st.
Okay. Okay. I knew I remembered you had said June, but I couldn't remember the dates, and I don't have it written down.
That's fine.
Um, let's see. Anything else you want to bring up? You want to talk about before I go to questions, or
A lot of questions here, I see. Uh, um,
well,
oops.
Patrick's got good words to say for Andrew's stuff. So yeah, everybody I've talked to that have used it, they're like, wow, this is good stuff. So I'm sorry I interrupted you.
I do want to touch on Mexico real briefly. I was having dinner and Sherry reminded me about tonight. I'm like, oh my god! And I was in Mykonos restaurant. It's my favorite restaurant, and the food is all made in the restaurant. I mean, like the sausages they make in house, everything they make in house except for the
Yeah,
bread. But anyway,
made from scratch.
pretty much. Um, so this is Lent, and so the Greeks or Greek Orthodox they don't eat like any meat at all, like or anything animal. So no cheese, no eggs, no whatever. But the Greeks make the best vegetables on the planet. So I had these baked lima beans. Oh my god, they were so good. And this one dish is, I can't think of the name of it, but it's eggplant and green beans. And it was, so hello to the folks at Mykonos. But I found out that kind of an inside story of what's going on in Mexico. There are some people that are stranded there who work in the restaurant, and they are safe in their hotels. There are troops, guarding them around the resorts, and they say they're running out of food because a lot of the people that work there were afraid to come to work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in some places,
I'm
uh,
afraid that's happening in restaurants and stuff around the country. It's
the cartels have torn up the roads to get to the airport. But you know, no Americans have been killed. I think there were 25 Mexican troops, and it was because of they took out the head of a cartel. And I really think that this whole thing, the cartels are retaliating. I think they want to create a lot of unrest, but my feeling is the Mexican government is going to crack down even more on the cartels.
yeah.
And I think this is the beginning of the end for the cartels. So I don't think the Mexican government is going to be intimidated by what the cartels are doing.
Yeah, no, I get the feeling that the El Presidente, Claudia Sheinbaum, is
La president.
La Presidente, uh, she strikes me as a woman that doesn't put up with anybody's bull. Very much so. I mean, she certainly doesn't put up with the current occupants' BS. That's for damn sure. So,
Well,
um,
they said that that United States intelligence helped them. Of course, U.S. intelligence is now an oxymoron under Trump. It's like a jumbo shrimp, right? But there's no American troops on the ground or anything, nor do I see American boots on the ground. I do think that the cartels are going to try to have a coup d'etat in Mexico, but Scheinbaum will not stop. And like, uh, I see, unfortunately, more violence because the cartels are retaliating. But I see many of these cartels, the people arrested and standing trial. So I think it's kind of like I said, the beginning and the end for the biggest part of the cartels. So, but luckily, I see all Americans getting home safely with no injuries. I take a Spanish class on Tuesdays and Sunday nights. With Deanne's in the class, Deanne Maiden Shield Tarot, and I texted the teacher. He's in Tabasco, and he said things are great there, but some of the violence is spreading to other cities. But
mm,
but he's safe and well. So as I get information, I'll keep everybody posted. So that's the report from
good,
Mexico.
good, good, good. And I know things are, I think, fairly kind of level in Canada. I haven't heard Marina mention anything, you know, drastic happening. And again, Canadians aren't putting up with any of his BS either. So I think he's starting to learn really quick that people have just about had enough of him and they're not afraid to share it. So that's a good thing. Um, are there anything topics in particular you want to bring up before we go to questions or
Also, Judge Cannon today ruled that
yes, I saw
the
that.
Jack Smith final report be sealed. It can't, you know. But I see that decision appeal, and at some point in time, I see his final report released to the public. But my light bulb went on. I'm thinking, for entertainment purposes only. But the Trump and his cronies probably had a lot to do with encouraging her, coercing her to, and
Yeah,
make promises to her to
made
seal,
an offer she can't resist.
right, to seal the his final um, whatever the final papers.
Yeah,
Um, I got a funny feeling Trump is going to try to put her on the Supreme Court, but my feeling is she wouldn't pass the Senate. He's going to try to get more justices on the court to do his bidding, but I see the Senate like saying no. I don't, I don't think they'll pass some of those candidates. So, um,
yeah. I don't see her. I've never seen her being able to move up the ladder. I always keep seeing her literally getting removed from her judgeship permanently. Um, but that's just what I've been picking up. I know when I did my lunch break musings today, uh, when I got home from the doctor, and I was reading on the current occupant and just some of the shenanigans going on, and about his use, his digging out of the waste bin, uh, John Barron to call in and talk about Trump.
It
It's
was
like,
him. That was him.
really, dude, it's like like we can't recognize your voice. I mean, they knew about it in New York decades ago when he used to do it then. But every time in the last few weeks that I've done a direct reading on him, I've had the death card come up every time. And it came up this time, and it just kind of looking at the card, and the number 13 was like glowing for me. So it was like a neon light on the number 13. So I'm like, okay, well, let's like watch for the 13th coming up because March has another Friday, the 13th. Now, I'm not a date person. I normally don't get dates, but today it was like looking at the card, and the number 13 was like lit up like it was a neon light. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. That's never happened before. Um, so I was like, okay, well, maybe this has significance. But this is like the fourth or fifth time in the past, I guess, week and a half when I've been reading on him that I've drawn the death card. And so I'm like, maybe spirit's trying to tell us something that we've been kind of tiptoeing around, and doesn't really mean death. It means, endings and beginnings. And, well, I don't know. I'm starting to wonder now if maybe the spirit isn't trying to be just a little bit more direct at saying, hello, read what the title of the card says. So I don't know. We'll see. That's just what I was getting today at lunch. So, and I was having fun with it. I was probably laughing more than I was reading, just because I was making fun. But uh, so
That's
anyway,
I think. Yeah, I see her. We were talking about this today. Linda was on my show earlier, and we were talking
I
about
saw part of it, but I was
right.
at the doctor's, so I was,
I see Cannon disbarred
yeah,
and removed from the bench. Uh, and there's going to be some whistleblowers that come forward, having proof that there was definitely collusion going on with this between her and and the regime. And uh, in her report, there was 15 pages. I read a few of them. She was just scathing against Jack Smith. A lot of the stuff she said, I feel, was untrue. And so, um, I just get the feeling that Trump made her a lot of promises, and he's going to try somehow to get around the court, but he's going to try to mess with the court more. But I don't see it being successful. So,
yeah. No, I keep seeing there's going to be a lot of judges that are going to get disbarred. There's going to be a lot of lawyers that are going to get disbarred, and suddenly they're going to be trying to figure out how to hell make a living because they can no longer do what they've spent their life training to do because they decided to chase after the money instead of chasing after the law. And so you reap what you sow, as the saying goes. Um, but uh,
hey, did Louisiana have a big Democratic win down there? I heard something
yes, we
about it.
did. Yes, we did in a
Oh,
very, very, very Republican parish most people call them counties or districts
oh,
elsewhere. They're parishes down here. Um, but in one of our parish slash district, a very Republican one, I don't think they've ever had a Democrat win in this particular parish. It's always been very red, very conservative, very Republican. The Democrat not only won, but they won like a 40-point flip. And so people are kind of freaking out down here right now. One half is celebrating, like, yeah, we're finally speaking up. And the other half going, oh my God, what are we going to do? Because people are freaking out down here because this is a big deal. I mean, if it was in New Orleans, it wouldn't be that big of a deal because New Orleans is a very, very blue city. And so everybody expects those from New Orleans to be Democrats, which they normally are. Once in a while, a Republican might slip in the back door if they're really kind of middle of the road Republican. Um, but for this to have been such a red district, um, heavily, like I said, I don't think they've ever had a Democrat win in that district. And for the Democrat to not just win, but to win by such a huge margin has just freaked people out down here. They are really, you're starting to see and hear folks get a little nervous. Um,
Rumor has it that there's a shortage of diapers in that parish in Louisiana.
well, it started with us basically kind of chasing ICE out because people started pinning ice voodoo dolls dressed like the ICE agents and finding them in their trucks, pinned to their hotel doors, trees in the area where they were at. People were putting voodoo dolls up with pins sticking in them all over the place. And there were literally agents asking to be repositioned to another area. They were freaked out about it. I mean, most of us were laughing about it because we're like, yeah, it doesn't do anything, y'all. But it's
Well,
what
you
you
don't know.
believe. Yeah, I mean, it's what if you believe it to a certain depth, then yeah, that's the result you're going to get. But yeah, they were kind of tripping out because people were putting voodoo dolls all over for them. So and people were like, "Yeah, don't mess with us, dude. We'll
So
put the juju on you, and you will regret it." So,
this brings up
um,
a bigger question. Do you see more parishes? I don't know. So this person won. What was that person running for?
I don't even know what it was. One of the state positions. I don't know if it was a state rep or if it was like maybe a rung down, but it wasn't for like a federal position. It was for like one of the state positions. And I, honest to God, I can't remember now what the damn position was that they were running for. But I know when I heard it the first time and I was like, wait a minute, that's my state they're talking about. When did this happen? I had to go look it up. So,
I was doing this show with Lynn, and I get these little news blurbs that flash across the top of the screen. And I was like,
yeah.
wow. And I had predicted that Louisiana, there are some really red districts there would go blue. And I'm just wondering, though, the question most people want to know is, will other parishes or other whatever
Districts or counties or whatever.
elect a lot more blue
You,
than red? And
you know,
I hear
um,
yes.
I think so because I mean, for most of my life, I mean, even as a kid, I was kind of sort of aware of it without really registering it. But it was like when people said something about, I'm a Democrat, it was like, I'm a Democrat. It was like behind the hand, you're kind of like sneaking that response to someone. Um, so, uh, but yeah, Kathy, you're right. There are far more Democrats in Louisiana than Republicans, but the people down here have been so uh, brainwashed into believing that they're the minority and therefore why even bother to get up and go vote because they're going to lose anyway. It's starting to turn around now. And with a win like we just had there, that we just had here, that was that 40 point. swing, um, there are a lot of people that are like sitting up and taking notice.
which tells me that people are getting out to vote. Uh,
Yes.
Also, I think it's a bellwether or a predictor of what's coming in the midterms. And as you were talking, my psychic light bulb went on. It just boom. I call it my flash cube. Um, I don't know when your governor down there when his term is up, but
Not soon enough.
I see
Um,
I see a Democrat in that role when this
I
guy's out.
Yeah, I think so. He is about 2 years into his about 2.5 years into his governance. Um, and when he won, of course, it was one of the worst turnouts this state has ever seen for voting, and practically no Democrats turned out. I can't count how many people I spoke with after the election that didn't even know there was a Democrat running, because the Democrat that was running didn't have the money. They didn't have the party behind them up until like 48 hours before the election. And so he he was very limited in what he could do as far as advertising. And of course, you had Landry, who old family money. His family's been here for generations and generations. They're a well established family in this state with lots of money, and he was quite literally sandblasting the news, TV, radio, you name it. He was it. There were ads. I mean, I literally like quit watching regular TV for the few things that I would tune into for, because I couldn't stomach his ads anymore. It was just nonstop barragement. And you never saw anything from the other side, because the guy that was the Democrat that was running didn't have the money to match that. And like I said, a lot of Democrats didn't even know there was a Democrat running. They thought that Landry was the only one running. So that's for the ones who did show up, that's who they voted for. And so it was a real kind of a wake up call with a lot of folks. I mean, the first thing Landry did as governor was he killed uh, the breakfast and the free breakfast lunch program for kids K through 12 in schools. And this was a federal program paid for 100% by the federal government. The only expense that came out of Louisiana's pockets was 50% of the administrative cost to run the program. Everything else was covered by the federal program that was running it. And it provided free breakfast and free lunch for kids in grades from kindergarten through 12th grade in high school, year round. Whether school was in session or not, it didn't matter. They got free 2 hot meals a day. For a lot of these kids, it was the only hot meals they ever got. And everybody got it. It wasn't like you got marked as being poor because you were getting a free lunch, like a lot of programs in the past had done. This program was like every kid got it. Didn't matter if they were rich, poor, black, white, up, down, didn't matter. All the kids got it. And so that way there was no way to belittle one group of students over another as being needy. Um, and of course, that was the first thing that he did when he became governor, was he killed that program, much to the horror of the majority of Republicans in this state, who are poor and whose kids did rely upon that program. And suddenly their kids' food was getting taken out of their mouth. So, and he just kind of went downhill from there. I mean, just everything he has done, he's got his nose so far up the current occupants behind. It's amazing his face doesn't just have a big round brown stain on it. Um,
I predict within the next 3 years that Louisiana will go purple. I think we're going to see it turning a lot more purple
yeah,
with the next. You know, can I just touch on Texas? I was driving
sure.
home and my light bulb went on, and I had said that I thought Newsom from California would run for president, and if he did, he'd win. But then all of a sudden, Tallarico popped in my head. Um,
Yeah,
and he's James Tallarico in Texas. He's really gained significant attention and increase in the polls since they pulled that CBS interview. They
yeah.
really did him a
But
favor.
he's running against Jasmine Crockett
I understand that.
for the primary, so it's going to be a real touchy.
I feel like he's going to win it. Okay, I could
That's there's a real good choice because he's white, he's Christian, and he's a man.
I could be wrong, but I'm not basing it on that. I'm just basing it on my psychic energy.
Right.
But where I was going with this is that uh, I feel at some point he's going to be the president of this country. That's what hit me.
There's a real good chance for that. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I feel like
Um,
it's going to be much sooner than later.
that very well could be. He's young enough. He's
He's
well spoken. He knows his facts and what he's talking about, and he pretty much just decimates anybody that tries to argue against him.
I don't.
And he's well liked because he's a likable guy.
Is he running for?
He's
Is it the Senate or the House? I don't.
for the Senate.
For the
It's
Senate.
a Senate seat.
My feeling is he'll win, but I don't know if he'll finish it out because I got a feeling he's going to run for president.
That very well could be.
When Barack Obama was senator, I had a feeling that he would run for president. In fact, I went to an Aretha Franklin concert for charity when she was still alive here in Chicago. And this was when Barack Obama, I don't even know if he was a senator, but Michelle Obama was there. I think he's just elected senator. And I told my cousin, we got to shake her hand. And I told my cousin that was with me, I said, her husband was going to be president. And my cousin said, no way. I said, you'll see. And
Yeah.
and I got that same feeling now with Tallarico. So
Yeah,
I don't think he'll
it,
finish the Senate term, but I think the reason for that is because he's going to run for president.
that could be. I know it's going to be a tough choice for Texans to make for the primary, whether if they go with him or if they go with Jasmine Crockett. They're both strong, and depending on the day, will depend on which one is in the lead uh, with support. They kind of flip back and forth day to day to day. And so, I mean, it's gonna be an interesting thing to watch. Um, I know, just to tell on my state a little bit more, it just came to pass the last, I guess, 2 months or so, um, that on state rankings, as far as like income based, poverty levels, salary levels, all this kind of stuff that states get ranked by. Well, for all of my life, Mississippi was always last. They were like the bottom of the barrel. You couldn't get any lower. Well, not anymore. Now Louisiana is the bottom of the barrel, and Mississippi is actually doing better than we are in a lot of those statistical values that they, pit against the states. And so it's like, yeah, thanks, Mr. Landry. We appreciate you shoving us on down the toilet all the way down as far as you can shove us. Um, and Stargazer, yes, I would love to finally get a woman president. It's truly is embarrassing that the rest of the world has had women leaders, whether they're presidents or prime ministers or queens or whatever, except us. We're the only ones.
Because we have a bunch of old, bigoted white men who are
Yes.
still under the idea that women should be barefoot, pregnant, and chained to the kitchen. Um, but yet they don't want to support the babies once they're born.
Right.
I
Right.
see it changing. You know, I think in our lifetime, I feel we will see a woman president. I
Yeah.
don't feel it's going to be this next election. Here again,
No, it
being
feels like it may be another election or two before it happens.
here again at the risk of being redundant, if Tallarico uh, runs, my feeling is he'll win. Now, I do see that seat that that Crockett and Tallarico are in competition for. It will be won by a Democrat. Yay!
Yeah, that's all I care about at this point.
And I see a lot more Senate seats and a lot more House seats taken over by Democrats.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
if
exactly.
if Mike Johnson makes it to the midterms, which I don't know,
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I got a
He's
feeling there's petitions circulating to remove him. But I do see um, Speaker of the House being a Democrat, and I like, my guides had shown me we're going to get a lot more fiery Democrats speaking up, like Jasmine
yeah,
Crockett, like
yeah,
Tallarico.
yeah.
And now,
And that's what we need.
if Tallarico were smart, which he's very smart, he would
Yeah.
say to Jasmine Crockett or AOC, "Why don't you be my vice president?" And I do
Oh,
see another woman vice president.
absolutely. Um, uh, yeah, I mean, I've always seen AOC as becoming speaker. I don't know when, but I've just always seen her stepping into that position. So I don't know how soon that will happen, but hopefully soon. I think she will make a good speaker because uh, uh, even though she's not as corporate as Pelosi was, she also doesn't put up with any BS like Pelosi didn't. So,
Some people in the
and
comments are saying that Tallarico is a Democrat in name only. I disagree with that. I mean, I
yeah,
respectfully disagree. Um, I've heard him talk, and to me, he sounds sincere and genuine. I could be wrong, but you know, at least he carries the title of Democrat. And I see Texas turning purple because
yeah,
they had it with Abbott. They've like people in Louisiana have had it with that governor.
yeah,
And look how many people came out to vote in Louisiana. There's going to be record numbers of people voting in Texas.
absolutely,
I,
absolutely.
I see Jasmine Crockett. Um, she's stepping up much higher in the political sphere. Uh,
Oh, yeah, it's
in fact,
whoever wins the presidency, whatever Democrat wins the presidency coming up in 28, I see her very, very likely to be offered a cabinet position
or vice president.
or vice president.
I see
Um,
I see her in the future as vice president and hopefully president. But I
yeah, that would
see her in the
be
vice president role.
that
So
she would be the one for it. Let me tell you. I mean,
it'd be phenomenal.
she absolutely. I mean, I
Well,
just
I think you're
adore
right.
her.
We'll see. She's going to be Speaker of the House. I feel that.
Yeah, that's what I've been seeing for the last, I don't know, I guess 6 months after her first election win, when she managed to beat soundly the uh, the Democrat that she was running against for that House seat, who was basically Nancy Pelosi's right hand man, and he lost, and that was a big shakeup for a lot of the House Democrats, a lot of the corporate Democrats. So when AOC first showed up, there were a lot of established Democrats that were kind of standoffish to her a little bit because she upset the apple cart, by getting rid of Nancy's number two guy. But she didn't seem to let that slow her down at all. I mean, she went all in from day one. Jasmine's done the same thing. Swalwell, he's another one that has just been.
He's going to be governor of California.
Oh, there's a good chance of that. Yeah, yeah. Um, I think he would make a good governor too. I
The
really do.
thing I think we're all, even some people disagree with Tallarico and whatever, but the thing everybody in the chat seems to be agreeing with is there's a lot of Democrats coming up that are fiery, and those Democrats are going to be winning. And my guides have been telling me for a long time that there were going to be a lot of fiery people coming up in the Democratic Party and being proactive as opposed to reactive.
It,
And that's what
that's it.
that's what we see with AOC, with Crockett, with Tallarico. Whether you like them or not, they're
Yeah,
fiery. They stand up for they're candidates for the people, not to line their
right.
own pocketbooks. Uh,
Exactly. They're not corporate.
they're
They're
not
they're
exactly, and
they're for the people, and the people realize that. They
people
recognize
are
that.
tired, I think, of being, that they thought, somebody corporate could run the country like a corporation. Well, joke's on them because Trump is bankrupting the country. So I think people don't want a corporate person running the country. They want a politician. They want somebody that stands for the people.
Yeah,
And all
exactly.
the candidates do that. I just want to share one thing. I read, it says, Mad Knight posted something on one of my things, and it just came up, and I like this. Mad Light says, I'm posting this sentiment everywhere, hoping it will catch on and increase hope. Just remember that Trump fails at everything he ever does, and that's the truth. So,
Yeah,
and he'll fail at running this country like he already has.
absolutely. I mean,
So, I like the fact that we're having this conversation in the chat, but
oh yeah. I mean, and I've seen some people that really start getting after each other, and there have been times when I've kind of jumped in and said it doesn't matter as long as it's a Democrat that wins, and as long as it's somebody that is willing to stand up for the betterment of the people. That's what we need. That's
totally.
what we need. We need people that are going to stand up. We need leadership that's going to stand up for the people.
And the
Um,
promising thing here is that when you have deep red states like Louisiana
yeah,
turning like 30, how many points the guy won
it was
in a
like a 40-point swing. Yeah,
super red district, winning, a Democrat winning, that tells us, and there were some other Dems that won big in southern states. That tells us the shift has started, and
yeah,
and it's going to gain momentum, and there's no turning back. A lot of MAGAs and a lot of Trumplicans are getting their diapers because they're nervous. They're
yeah.
nervous. And, at least the Democrats and the Independents are doing it on the up and up. Trump and his cronies are trying to cheat just to win. But if you cheat and win, you really don't win.
No, I mean, and that's been one of the problems for, I would say, the last 30, 40 years is that while Republicans have been consistently winning, 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 and a lot of them, most of us are pretty sure, have managed to cheat their way into that office. But they get in there and they don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't know the Constitution. They don't know what the constitutional law is. They don't even know how their own government is supposed to
They
run.
haven't even read the
And how,
Constitution.
no, they have no clue how their government functions or works. A lot of that has to do with the fact that one of the things, and this is going back just before Reagan got in, um, with the steady destruction of the public education. Um, the first thing Reagan did when he was governor of California was he ended their practically free higher education that they had for their state universities. And therefore, there were a lot of kids who just couldn't afford to get a higher education. Um, and from that point on, we've seen that go across the country. I mean, I remember the first time I went to college, which was right after I graduated in high school, which was in 1979. I took, I only went one semester, but I took 6 classes. And the cost for tuition, fees, books, registration, everything you have to pay for a semester of school, and it was under $1,000. And then halfway through, I just quit going because I was sick of school and was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then when I went back to school 15 years later, it was shocking the cost that it was to go back to school. And I mean, I had books that cost more than the entire semester I had taken in the past. And and so you wound up you're left, if you're not independently wealthy or mama and daddy aren't wealthy, you're pretty much stuck with no other way to get a higher education unless you go in for the school loans. You go in for the school loans and then you come out of college owing more than uh, you know it delays the fact that you're even able to buy a car or buy a house or start your own business because you're starting your life out under a tremendous amount of debt. That's what happened with me. I mean, I wound up borrowing $25,000 overall in the 6 years it took me to get my bachelor's degree because it was like a couple of classes here, a couple of classes there. And I had to do school loans to do it. By the time I had graduated, and within a year after graduation, I had borrowed 25,000. I owed 75,000. That's how high the principal, the interest was on the principal. Um, One of the most freeing moments of my life was that first year after Biden took office, and they were really working with higher education to try to get school loans cut down. And I mean, I applied for every program they had put up, I applied for it. And when I got that letter from the Department of Education telling me that it wasn't just I got X amount knocked off my loans, I got a letter saying, your payments have been zeroed out. You no longer owe anything. All of my loan was forgiven. 75 grand just gone. I sat and cried like a baby for probably 2 days. It was that overwhelming to me that all of a sudden it felt like I was out from under this concrete hat or whatever you want to call it. I just because I just you're paying, 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 and you never get to the principal. You're just paying interest, just paying interest. And that was probably one of the most profound things that have ever happened to me was when I got my student loans forgiven. And so now I tell young people now when I see people talking about it, apply for every program that's out there. Apply, reapply, apply again. Don't stop, because you never know what's going to happen from one day to the next when it's going to change
Well,
your positioning on that.
I feel when once Cittadini's out of office, the president coming in, that will in fact forgives the interest on student loans. You have to pay
Yeah,
back the principal, but the interest is what's killer. Um, I want to. Somebody says here, Aaron the hairstylist says, "No more religious nuts, please, in politics. I'm Catholic, but I don't want religion in politics." Well, Aaron, our country was founded on the separation of church and state.
exactly.
My guides are showing me in the future that the churches will run the churches and the state will run the state. Just for the record, Trump is not religious, obviously. You know, somebody that
Please.
that way, but
He
he
thinks religious people are idiots and
panders.
stupid.
Well, he panders to the ultra right wing Christian nationalists because they're really they act Christian, but they're not. They're bigots, and
Yeah,
he panders to that. Just because Talarico says that he believes in God doesn't make him a preacher. Any candidate doesn't make them a preacher.
right.
They're not holding the Bible upside down like Trump did. Uh,
Exactly. And
I,
and
I think
you know,
I think we'll get back to the state running the state and the church running the church, and I see legislation passed in the future that if the churches really get involved politically, then they lose their tax exempt status. I see that coming down the pike. So,
Absolutely. I agree completely. Because, it's like, I don't care what religion somebody is that runs for office, as long as they don't emphasize their religious beliefs over their job as a political leader. No matter their party, I don't care. It doesn't matter. As long as they're following the Constitution and constitutional law, and they keep their worship to themselves. I mean, I don't care what you want to believe in. You can believe in anything you want. You can believe in nothing if you want. I
just,
don't care.
just don't
But
cram it down everybody else's throat. Here's something great Google says. This is cool. Dims are blowing out dims are blowing out at the polls here in Texas. We have a week into the early voting and have already surpassed the numbers from the previous primaries. We still have another week of early voting. Go Texas. Texas
awesome,
Texas
awesome.
is gonna go purple, I'm telling you.
I remember when Texas was blue. I lived there during that time, and it was awesome. The minimum wage was more than most of the country. People were working, they were making money, prices were down, there were all kinds of programs, and people were actually moving up the scale as far as their livelihood. Oh, thank you, Susan. That's very sweet of you. She donated a super sticker.
Yeah.
Um, and so it you can believe whatever you want to believe till the cows come home. I don't care, as long as you don't let it interfere with your position
Look
as a political
at
leader.
Carter. Jimmy Carter was a very religious man,
Exactly.
but he was a Democrat and he did not let those two mix, you know.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so Jimmy Carter, I think, was a good president. He just got hung up on a lot of political BS. But
And a lot of crap that
but
Reagan was pulling behind the scenes. Yeah.
he did more once he was out of office. Well, he brought the peace between Israel and Egypt, but out of office, with Habitat for Humanity, building houses for the poor, he did a lot of good work. And
He
if
walked the walk.
yes,
He
Jimmy,
didn't just talk it, he
right.
lived it.
I mean, he
And
didn't he didn't proselytize from the White House. None of that. He was religious, yes, but he didn't. He wasn't judgmental so much about those who weren't.
no,
I
I
mean,
mean, up until probably the last couple of years before Rosalind passed, he was still teaching Sunday school classes,
right.
and it's like, more power to you, man. I mean, and it was usually a small group of people that were in his class because they had to be careful, of course. Um, but those that took his classes were always talking about, he wasn't a big preachy kind of person. It was very down to earth, very uh, everyday life choices type of Christianity that he taught.
Well,
And yes, Maureen, you're right. Ann Richards was the best damn governor Texas ever had. She was phenomenal.
Maureen says
Yeah,
here, um, I think it's totally insane that poor white farmers vote Republican. I'll never understand why. I know why. Is because you have a candidate coming along blaming all the ills of of poor farmers, if you will, on a group of people.
yeah,
First time Trump was in office, he blamed everything on the Muslims, right?
yeah.
Now he's blaming everything on Latinos. Let's round them up. Let's send them off. Put them in concentration camps. Look at what they're doing. Played on people's fear. That's what Hitler did.
Yeah, it's othering people. It's
So
it's
what they do is they get people riled up emotionally and they suspend their critical thinking. They just go on emotion. Yeah, we want, make it better for us. And the promise is that he would, but really he's made it worse. And a lot of the farmers are now seeing that, you know, they've drunk the Kool-Aid.
yeah.
Haven't. but you have to understand the sociological phenomenon, and that's what's going on. But it's changing. People are
Yeah.
opening their eyes to Trump's BS, and to I saw a minister, a really uh, right
Fire and brimstone. Yeah.
talking about Trump and saying that he's a liar, that he, and just really, really down on Trump. So we're seeing a lot of right wing ministers really, really calling out Trump. Uh,
Yeah.
and I think
Especially those that are truly trying to live their faith. I mean,
he pandered to the ultra right
yeah.
Christian, so-called Christian nationalist, because I'm gonna overturn abortion. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Blah 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 blah. Um, but at the end of the day, he's taking. I'm gonna give you more individual rights, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna da, 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 you know. But at the end of the day, people lost their individual rights, and I think that uh, uh, Miko, that's a really good point you made. That it's totally insane that poor white farmers vote Republican, but not everybody's going to be anti-Trump. There's always going to be a small group. Just like
No.
after, just like after Hitler was defeated, there was a small group of Nazis, but
Yeah.
it'll be a small group and it will dwindle. Trump is
Exactly.
even disavowing himself from the MAGAs.
Exactly. Well, and as far as down here in the South, and I grew up listening to it all of my life, hearing it, where you would have those very bigoted leadership people you know, who would tell the white poor people, okay, you're poor and, we're going to try to help you and stuff, but at least you're not like them. They're black and they're going to get special programs because they're black, which was BS. But people bought into it and they believed it. And so you've had generations of people that have grown up thinking, well, I may be poor, but at least I'm not black or brown or, whatever minority they want to nitpick on. Um, but yet, when it's harvest time, they're raising hell because there's nobody to go in the fields and work their fields. And they can't get white people to do it because they tried that uh, in, I want to say, Alabama, maybe it was several years ago, when I think it was when he was in office the first time, and they had gotten a batch of, they were clearing out a lot of the brown people around there, and there was nobody to work the fields. And so the farmers, everybody was like, oh yeah, we'll just hire, all these teenage boys out of high school and stuff. If they showed up on the first day and worked the whole day, it was considered amazing. They didn't show up the next day because their response was like, I'm not doing that kind of work for minimum wage. Are you crazy?
Oh, minimum wage, less than minimum wage,
Yeah. I mean,
much
well,
less.
with white kids, they had to offer minimum wage to get them there. So, but, they had the immigrants there so they could pay them a lot less. Um, I know I saw earlier, kind of getting back to ICE real quick, that there is another whistleblower that has come out who has stated that the training, especially for the new ICE agents that have, these last couple of rounds, the training has been specifically to tell them that they do not have to follow the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, that they are allowed to break that amendment. And that's, um, it ties into your right to, uh, I guess, your right to have a lawyer, whatnot, to do all of that. I don't remember now exactly, but that they're being trained that, yeah, you don't have to follow the Constitution. You just do what we're telling you to do, and we're going to cover you. But unfortunately, I think a lot of these people are going to find out that, actually, they're not going to get pardoned because Trump doesn't keep his word on anything. And they're all going to be out of work and basically outcast in their communities. It's already happening now. You've got these ICE agents, especially the younger men who are complaining on open forums where they get on and talk. If they try dating, the minute the woman finds out that that's what they do, they don't want nothing to do with them anymore. It's like, oh, that's what you do. Bye. Bye, Felicia. I don't want nothing to do with you. So I think there's a lot, especially of the younger men, that are discovering their families are disowning them. They can't get a date. If they do get a date, the minute they let it out that that's what they do, the date up and leaves them, and she's gone. Um,
A voodoo doll.
yeah, or else they got voodoo dolls coming their way, and that freaks them out. So, I know I've had people in some of the other states say, "Hey, can you send me some voodoo dolls?" I'm like, "Well, I don't personally make them, but there are companies online that do. So, just gotta look around. I mean,
I've got to run real soon,
I've
but
got my Wonder Woman, so she
I,
stays with me everywhere.
I've got to run soon. But I just, if we can just touch on one thing really quickly, people are wanting to know about the State of the Union, which I will not watch
No,
because
I'm
I
not
don't
watching it
grow
either.
up. But I have a feeling that he's just going to be unhinged and rambling. And I hear people going boo. I see a lot of justices not showing up. I see, I see some Democrats not showing up, but Republicans. It's just going to be unhinged. And my guides gave me, when people were in Trump's office, they were like, "Ooh," and Trump, they were like, and Trump says we're going to call an end to the conference. They had to clear the room out because obviously his depends were full. I see people kind of making faces like when there's a bad smell. Like,
It
I've got
just
a
makes
funny
me
feeling.
happy that it's going to be Vance and Moses Mike
I got a funny
have to
feeling that
stand behind him.
I got a
So
funny feeling that there's going to be some accident like that. And
I was
JD,
laughing yesterday. I said, if somebody was smart, they would get one of those little micro cameras and microphones that you can hide in the crevices and stuff to put right behind him, full volume, so that when he starts letting loose, everybody knows it and they can see it. And
so I can see JD Vance and Johnson just being the bobbleheads, just
yeah, and trying not to do this number in the process of it. So,
like this.
um,
It's going to be
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
going to be rambling. It's all going to be lies. I'm the greatest. We've got the greatest economy. It's the best. It's the best
Stop
job in
eight
our
wars now, and it's
this
like, no, you started
the,
eight
the
wars.
prices are lower than they ever have been. Blah blah. I mean, just all lies. That he thinks that people actually buy that, and
Yeah,
the majority of us don't, and even people who voted for him don't, because those are the ones, and especially the poor farmers. Those are the ones going to the grocery store and paying those high prices. You know, Tapioca says hide some X-Lax in his McDonald's milkshake. It's funny.
I'm surprised somebody hasn't done that already.
They
Then again, maybe they have, and we just don't know it yet. But I would not want to have to be the person having to stand behind him for
oh,
any
oh,
for
I
any reason. There's not enough money you could pay me to have to sit behind that man when he's got to get up and talk. Number one, I don't think there's enough money to get me to show up to begin with just to listen to him talk. I can't stand his voice, but to have to stand behind him, yeah, Michelle, you're right. For my mental health, I am not watching it. I will catch the clips. Um,
no. There's a thing going around that uh, there should be an alternative State of the Union message that tells the truth. But anyway,
yeah,
I got to run. I think
I know, I know. Yeah, it's late. We've already been on over an hour. So,
I don't. I think
um,
that we pretty much answered everybody's questions. I kind of scrolled through and kind of change. I don't mean to interrupt or change the topic, but basically the things I was asking is the things that people had asked.
Yeah, they were the same. They were right in line with the questions that I had starred. So I
Right.
just didn't pop them up because we were just rolling from one
Oh, here
topic
it
to
says
another.
Midas Touch is doing a State of the Union with guests, so I'll watch
Yeah.
that
So
instead. Maureen is funny. She goes, "There isn't enough Vicks in the world to cover that stint."
yeah, you got that right.
Well,
Um,
you know, I worked in the hospital.
I mean, you have a full-on gas mask, and it's not going to protect you. I have a feeling.
So when
So,
I worked in the hospital, and if we had to put a mask on, like if we were in the morgue or there was like, sometimes there's smells in the hospital, and we would take Vicks and put here and then put the mask over it, so that the Vicks helps drown out the smell. So
exactly.
I wonder if they're going to pass out Vicks. People come in.
Or masks.
Well, with Vicks smeared on the inside.
Yeah, exactly. A Vicks coated mask. Here, everybody put your mask on so you can breathe. Um, well, Mel and Arthur and I, because Arthur will be with us for the next show, will be back on March the 9th, which is the second Monday of the month. We meet the second and fourth Monday of the month. And the first one of those, it's all three of us. And then the second one, you just get me and Mel because Arthur has other obligations. Sometimes we have a guest that comes on with us, and sometimes it's just us. So
Is
we're
are we doing other side of the coin this Friday or no?
this Saturday,
Oh, good.
Saturday at 6:30
Oh,
our time,
Saturday, not Friday.
not Friday. Saturday night at 6:30 our time, and
Okay.
Colleen is hosting. So
Other side of the coin. We're going to talk about voodoo.
that's right. And for my members, I've got my members live stream this Friday at 6 p.m. Central. Figure your time zone from there. And that'll be members only live stream. I gifted some memberships earlier in the show. So if you are one of the winners, please email me your email address with your channel name and your regular name so I know who goes to what to swampvoices@gmail.com. And then that way I can get you on the mailing list.
And
And
next Monday at 7 p.m. Central Time, I'll have mine for members only, and I'll answer personal questions.
there you go.
Also, I'll do a giveaway of a full set of Angelniki products. So next
That's
Monday
it.
at 7 p.m., my channel. So
All righty.
Aloha Oracle, we call it. Aloha Oracle.
Aloha Oracle. There you go. That sounds good. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I got my cats fighting in the other room. I can hear them at each other. Y'all have a great evening. Thank you so much. Mel, I will talk to you later. I'll see you tomorrow night for Aloha Tuesday. So, bye for now.